Okay, so let's talk about something huge. A single technology that literally holds the power to both save and destroy our world. We're diving into the story of the nuclear age.
And, it's almost impossible to overstate the impact here. We're not just talking about a bigger bomb, no way. This was a fundamental shift in all of human history. It completely redrew the map of global power, it changed all the rules of diplomacy, and it left this permanent mark on our culture and on our deepest fears.
And that right there, that's the central paradox, isn't it? The same technology offers us two totally different futures: complete total annihilation, or this incredibly fragile kind of peace. So the big questions are, how on earth did we get here? And how do we even begin to navigate this razor's edge? To really get a handle on where we are now, you have to appreciate the sheer scale of the change that kicked off in the middle of the 20th century. This wasn't just a new weapon, it was a whole new reality. Yeah, this quote really nails it. Think about it. All of a sudden, warfare wasn't about winning anymore, it was about avoiding a global catastrophe. International relations? It turned into this super high-stakes chess game where one wrong move could literally be the last move for everyone. And our public consciousness? It became soaked in this constant, low-level fear that shaped everything from duck and cover drills in schools to some of the biggest blockbuster movies ever made. So how does this whole thing actually work? Let's get into the science. How do you unleash the power of the atom? Okay, so at the very heart of it all is a process called nuclear fission. The easiest way to think about it is this. Picture the nucleus of an atom like a super tightly packed bundle of pure energy. Fission is what happens when you hit that bundle in just the right way, causing it to split apart and release a massive chunk of that energy. But here's the kicker. It's not just about that initial energy release. It's about what comes out along with it. And that leads us straight to the most crucial part, the chain reaction. It's like a domino effect on a cosmic scale. That first nucleus splits, and bam, it shoots out more neutrons. Each of those neutrons can then go and hit other nuclei, making them split, which releases even more neutrons. You see where this is going, right? If that process keeps going and grows exponentially, scientists call this supercritical, you get this unbelievable, almost instantaneous release of energy. And that is the engine of a nuclear explosion. And this abstract science, well, it became a terrifying reality, and fast. The race to build the bomb was a defining part of World War II, and it all led to the top-secret Manhattan Project. After the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the world was just never the same again. And then, only 4 years later, the Soviet Union tested its own weapon. The arms race, the Cold War, it was on. So, we've talked about the science. But understanding the science is one thing. Understanding the human cost, that's something else entirely. The consequences of actually using these weapons are catastrophic on a scale that's, well, it's honestly hard to even wrap your head around. First, you've got the blast wave, just this unbelievably powerful shockwave that can flatten an entire city in seconds. It obliterates buildings, destroys all infrastructure, and causes just massive immediate casualties. And at the exact same moment, the detonation unleashes a wave of extreme heat thermal radiation. It's so intense it causes horrific burns over huge areas and ignites these massive, uncontrollable fires that can merge into what they call firestorms. And then, after the blast and the fire, comes the invisible killer: radioactive fallout. All this contaminated dust and debris gets blasted up into the atmosphere, and then it slowly settles back down to Earth, poisoning the land, the water, the food supply for years, sometimes for decades. It's the silent, long-term threat to all life in the area. The long-term effects are just a cascade of one disaster after another. I mean, look at this list. Medical systems, they'd be gone, completely overwhelmed. Food and water, contaminated. Survivors would have to deal with higher rates of cancer for generations to come. And then there's the big one on a global scale. Scientists have this theory of a nuclear winter, where all the smoke from burning cities could actually block out the sun, plunging the planet into cold and darkness and triggering a worldwide famine. We're talking about a complete and total breakdown of society. So, faced with this absolutely terrifying new reality, the world had to figure something out. How do we live with the bomb? And this question kicked off a whole new era of strategy, diplomacy, and intense debate. And this right here really gets to the heart of the whole nuclear dilemma. It's a constant tug of war. On one side, you have the cold, hard logic of deterrence. The idea is if I can destroy you and you can destroy me, then neither of us is going to start a major war. It's a strategy they appropriately called mutually assured destruction, or MAD. But then, on the other side, you have the simple, undeniable humanitarian truth. Using any of these weapons would be a moral catastrophe. Their very existence is an existential risk that's maybe unacceptable. So, to try and manage this tension, the world came up with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. You can think of it as a kind of grand bargain, and it's built on three main pillars. Pillar 1, stop the spread of nukes to any new countries. Pillar 2, the countries that already have them have to work towards getting rid of their own arsenals. And Pillar 3, everyone should be allowed to use nuclear technology for peaceful things, like generating energy. Now, the NPT is the cornerstone of all this, for sure, but there are other critical efforts supporting it. You've got the IAEA, that's basically the world's nuclear watchdog. They send inspectors to make sure nuclear material is being used for peaceful stuff, not weapons. There was the Partial Test Ban Treaty, which was huge because it moved nuclear tests underground to stop spreading radioactive fallout all over the planet. The big powers also signed deals between themselves to shrink their huge arsenals, and there's even a more recent treaty that's trying to just ban nuclear weapons entirely. Okay, so that brings us to today. And, the Cold War might be over, but the nuclear challenge is far from it. It's just evolved. It's created a whole new set of complex dangers for us in the 21st century. The risks we face today are just different, more complicated. You've got new tech, right? Things like advanced missile defense, cyber weapons. They could totally destabilize that old mutually assured destruction balance. You've got intense regional conflicts that put a lot of pressure on countries to get their own bomb for protection. And of course, the nightmare scenario is still out there. What if a non-state actor, like a terrorist group, gets their hands on this stuff? So, what's the takeaway? Where do we go from here? Well, the big lesson is that this threat requires constant, unending vigilance. It's not something you can solve and then forget about. It demands persistent diplomacy, really tough verification systems, and, maybe most importantly, an informed public, all of us, that actually understands the stakes and can hold our leaders accountable. And in the end, it all comes down to this one big question. How will future generations look back on this era? Will they see these weapons as this terrible invention that paradoxically kept the great powers from tearing the world apart? Or will they see them as an existential threat that we ultimately failed to contain? The final answer to that? Well, that's the legacy we are creating right now.